I have a second chance, Lo. I'm not going to waste it. Here's your look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, Justice League, the Snyder Cut, Superman. Once the world's most powerful and iconic superhero, Superman personified a higher calling to truth and justice and a deep respect for all humanity. The absence of this fallen idol whose sacrifice stunned the world inspires the formation of the Justice League. Before we see how Kal-El stands with the rest of the league, probably would be a good idea to first see how tall the figure stands. And in order to do that, I'm going to bring this in as my tape measure, of course. We're going to put it right to the very top of his head. I'm going to move it across just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm going to stop it right there. The traditional colored Superman stands 8.5 inches, 8.5 inches in height. I'm going to switch that over to centimeters, revealing that the figure is 21.6 centimeters tall. Quite a lot of league to look at, especially to compare with Superman, so we'll just move him over. Get him to properly stand. Some of these figures actually do have a bit of a difficulty with their ankles. For the obvious ones, I'm sure you guys will probably want to see what it looks like next to the black costumed Superman, which, funny enough, was the figure that we looked at first. You can also bring in some of the other figures as well. There he is next to Cyborg. There he is next to Aquaman. Here he is next to Flash. Put Flash in the back there. And, of course, we can bring in Batman as well. Still have to track down where I put the Wonder Woman. I'm not really sure whereabouts she is. And speaking of bad ankles, for some reason, Tactical Suit Batman is giving me some problems. But it gives you at least an idea of how regular, classic, costume-colored Superman stacks up with the rest of the league that we've looked at so far. For those that have just recently watched my review of the black costume Superman, thank you for that, by the way. Really, really appreciate that. You may then recognize the same accessories packed with this Superman are the very same ones that got packaged with that figure. And there's really a lot of similarities, and it's not just the mold that they're reusing here. Speaking of similarities, if I can actually grab it here, he does come included with a trading card. I had to double check for a second and just make sure I grabbed the right card. And where a mistake could certainly have been made is if you look at the one that comes included with the black and silver suited Superman, they are, in fact, the same image, other than this one right here. They've sucked all the colors out. Guess you could have said, why wouldn't they have just colored this one in the blue and red costume colors? But I guess, to be fair, this is a press image of what he looked like in the costume, and it wasn't in that costume color anyways. They would have had to then gone in there and digitally added the blue and the red. ... I could further add to that. Well, if that's the only costume, well, that's the only image that they had in this color costume, why wouldn't they just have used a different image of Superman when he was wearing the regular blue and red outfit? Anyways, if you flip it around to the back, you'll see that colors are extracted everywhere on this card, except for the name Superman and except for DC Multiverse down below. Even the read-ups are exactly the same to one another. If you have these, I suppose, next to one another, people would just assume that you have a duplicate until they looked closer and realized, yeah, the color's gone on one of them. So we'll put that to the side, and then the other thing, of course, he comes included with is the flight stand. The same flight stand that came included with the other one. And it's a two-part treatment. Do I have... Oh, actually, I did just as well on this one as I did with the other one as well. It comes in two pieces. That's why I actually took them apart in the first place, just to show you that when you get them out of the packaging, is by itself and is by itself. But technically, you could really use this as just a regular standing stand with still the peg on there. That's obviously why the peg is there in the first place. It wouldn't make any sense to have the figures pegged in place and then have this big neck in the way of things. So you can technically remove it, although previous times trying to do that with other figures, I've had some difficulty. Sometimes they lock in place and they're really difficult. Other times like this, 2 times that we've looked at these, super easy to remove the neck. And as you can see, there's the DC logo down below there. I like that. I like this stand. I mean, it does have a bit of a lift to it. It's not like your regular traditional DC stands, which we can bring in. It's a little bit, actually quite a bit bigger as well than the black stands. So yes, you get that. This just lines into the grooves. See the little slot there? And that just basically just slides into place. And it does lock into place, although... yeah, these ones are a little bit easier to remove. You can, oh, by the way, you can also then take this. This moves back and forth, and this does open and close. So yes, you can take your Superman, get the cape out of the way. Superman's cape's always in the way. And then you just clip that around his waist. Could have been any more of a boring looking pose that you've just accomplished. It's only there just to indicate that, yes, you can attach him to the clip, the waist clip, a little bit better, of course, than what I've just done. Just clip that in place like that. Despite for the fact it actually seems like so little of it attaches onto his torso, Superman stands actually, or hovers, pretty good actually, by use of this display stand. So he comes included with that as well. Let's take that off, put that to the side, and we'll get a closer look now at Superman. Now, I did look at this guy first for just the obvious reasons that I thought it was more fitting, because of course he wears this costume in the movie. Mind you, if you had seen the theatrical cut, the Joss Whedon cut, then yes, Superman would have been wearing this costume the whole time. So I guess in that sense, you get the best of both worlds. As a purist, I'm certainly more on board the idea of getting Superman as a display piece in his more traditional colors than the black and white. But yes, again, to support the Snyder cut, I like and appreciate the fact that he gave him his returns suits. Certainly for the head sculpt, you can see that they are identical to one another. Any little bit of difference that you may spot from one to the other is simply just the way it was painted. Other than that, it's like I said, the exact same head sculpt. The paint may or may not have mentioned that when we looked at the first Superman is a bit on the pale side. Notably, all of the Justice League figures, I guess really for Cyborg, are colored off. Their colors seem a little too pasty, a little too bland, a little too light. Superman sort of falls into that category as well. But again, I wouldn't fault the head sculpt at all. Both of them actually are quite good. I don't know if I even had mentioned this in the previous Superman review, so I'll make a note in my head to mention it right now before I forget about it. While I do like the head sculpt, the placement of where they've put the neck, I want to spin this around for the side just to show you here. The neck is on a permanent angle. And now I'm thinking about it, I don't think I did actually mention it in the other Superman review, but this neck is in a permanent locked angled place where it always looks like Superman's head is leaning forward. Because he doesn't have a secondary peg joint here, this is all molded into the rest of his torso. There is no means whatsoever to be able to bring the neck back, and therefore also bring the head back. You can compensate it by bringing the head like this. And providing you look at it from the front, it's no problem. If you look, however, at from the side, then you're going to be noticing, oh, what's going on with Superman's neck? It's unavoidable. Other than that, though, I do, again, like the head sculpt. It's nice and clean. The outlines of the eyes, both the eyes, and you got a little bit of what seems to be reflection on the actual pupils, or irises, I suppose. Very nice paint. Little on the light side, admittingly. It is light on the fair skin color, but I think overall it's a nice looking head sculpt. I wouldn't fault it for a sculpt standpoint. And of course, then we look at Superman's body, which has all the same makings that the original Superman had. Still the very intricate looking sculpting that they've done to the suit to mimic the one that he has in the movie. Of course, here, though, you get, I feel, a lot more of an opportunity to see really the features on the suit because of the brighter colors that they're using here. Again, we can just shimmy this guy over and bring in the other one so you can see the difference between the two. I know we've already looked at this one. It really is just a matter of which one you prefer. Neither answer is really incorrect. If you like the more traditional colors of Superman, then yes, you probably would be picking up this one. If you like the idea of him wearing the black suit in the movie, then you might pick up this one. Or if you just like the figure like myself, you're going to be picking up both the figures. The capes are also identical to one another. We can spin this around so you can see the back of them. Still made of that rigid plastic. Did I jokingly say, I can't remember in the other one, that looked or reminded me of phyllo pastry? When you have to kind of overlap phyllo and kind of butter the individual layers. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Very, again, dense plastic. It kind of feels like a really very thick fruit roll-up. Still, as you can see there, detailing is nicely done on the back, though all these additional lines that they've sculpted into the back of Soup's torso unfortunately doesn't get any bit of paint, so they're just left to the coloring of the molded plastic. Really, though, you're not going to be seeing it because you're going to have the cape down, but it is something that, yes, they didn't really paint in. They just kind of kept really a lot of this kept to the molding of the plastic, which I might also just say too, like the coloring that they went with the blue is fantastic. I even feel like in the movie it's even lighter than this, but I prefer this more darker color. I've always really liked the darker color of Snyder's Superman suit, at least in Man of Steel. And then I always found like it got progressively shinier and brighter with all the movies. I do really like Superman's costume being more of a dark color like this, but again, we have the emblem right there. Get a good gander at that. Paint, for what little there is applied, is actually applied pretty cleanly. The emblem, the belt area, the little side struts of gold, and also, of course, his boots, which I gotta imagine his boots are probably molded in red plastic and not actually painted. The figure also has, similar to the one that we looked at before, one flat palm and then one closed fist. No available opportunity to give us another hands to swap in and out of the figure. And like I said, this figure doesn't have any other accessories than just the flight stand and the trading card. Let's look at the posability on the stoic Superman. His head, of course, like the other one, rotates all the way around. It sits only on a single ball joint, which allows the head to move up. So if you want to have it in a somewhat flight pose, you can do that. Or you can have it down. Brooding Superman. You can also rotate the head all the way around. At some point, talking about other Justice League characters I would like to see, Desaad being really high on that list for me. I would also really like a bare-chested, just resurrected Superman with an angrier look on his face. I would certainly be on board for that. For the arms hinge out, and similar to the other ones that we looked at before, there is that socketed joint that they have sculpted the same texturing as the rest of his body. So that's nice. I like that. Arms rotate, of course, all the way around. He has a swivel in the bicep. He has a double hinge on the elbow. So Superman can actually relax, lay up in the clouds and just relax take a bit of a nap. And of course, he has rotations on the hands. Both the hands, actually. I'm only just focusing on this one for the time being. Let's bring the other arm down. He also does have, of course, the upper torso ball joint. Lower torso, also ball joint. And then for the legs split out. They do still have a ratcheted joint. There's the show of the figure's crotch. Again, I don't know why that's always something I end up doing here on this. And just in case you're curious, the figure has a nice smell of plastic for people that were curious. The legs swivel back and forth. They have a double hinge on the knee, actually, on both of them. He has no articulation on the boots. Still, I'd like to go with the idea that they didn't paint the boots, and that was a piece that they actually attached over top of it. I can see what almost is a line where the two pieces would have been connected together, because it doesn't look like the boots have been painted, nor do the legs look like they've been painted. As for the feet, they move back and forth. You can ankle pivot them as well. And of course, there's the toe articulation. Gotta appreciate the toe articulation. Superman, it certainly is nice to see that even though he doesn't really make an appearance, I don't even think at any point he makes an appearance in this costume. It's mostly in the black suit, which is, again, this one right here. I'm happy to see, at least as a variant, they released the same figure with the two different colors of paint, or two different looks for the character. Again, I'd be all for the idea that DC Multiverse at some point, McFarlane's team, does produce a shirtless Superman. Am I the only one that would want a shirtless Superman fighting the League? You can get a nice little display. Actually, even if they had like a build-a-set where you could build the memorial of Superman in the background and then have, I don't know what other characters you could probably throw in there. Certainly Desaad would be pretty high on the list for me. I mean, I would like to see them maybe reuse this mold. In the meantime, I'm happy to actually have picked up both of these. Technically, I guess you would consider the classic costume of Superman to be the variant of the regular released black suit one that we already looked at before. With this release of Kal-El, you're basically getting the same figure with a different coat of paint. You're getting basically the same accessories. You are getting the same accessories and you're getting the same packaging. Although in the case of both the card and the back of the packaging, as you can see, the colors have been extracted out. It looks like Optimus Prime dying in the original 86 movie. Wish they kind of could have used a different image on the back instead of just reusing. I guess the idea is that this figure is supposed to be a variant, which it is, to the one that we looked at before. So because it's a variant, let's change the packaging up just a little bit. It will be the same packaging, but it's just a different color. That I'm guessing that's probably what the mindset was when they decided to release the trading card as it is and the back of the packaging looking like this. This is a nice looking Superman. Short of the fact his neck looks a little on the crooked side, it leans a little too far forward, probably because they had to sculpt the back of the cape the way that they did, and because all these figures really don't have the lower neck articulation. It's all up at the top. It's all at the top of the neck that's doing all the work, and because as a result of that, yeah, Superman does lean a little forward when it comes to his neck, at least when you see it from the side. When you're seeing it from the front, it's not bad at all. In fact, the whole entire figure looks really good. Not really sure which one I'm going to likely... I feel like I still want to display the black suit Superman with the rest of the league, sticking still with the faithfulness of the Snyder cut. Maybe I might just ultimately display Superman on his own. It's a shame. He really shouldn't be on his own. I mean, he's been dead all this time. You'd like to think at least he'd be along with his friends. Okay, we'll just display both Superman with the rest of the league. Now, if you're doing your checklist, checking off all the figures that we've looked at so far, what's still left behind is, of course, Steppenwolf and Darkseid. So yes, those reviews will still be coming up. To make sure that you aren't missing out on any of the new reviews that will be popping up on this channel, do a couple of things. One of which, subscribe to this channel. That's the big one. That's the one that kind of makes sure that gives you that stamp seal of approval that you're definitely going to be in the know when new videos are going to be popping up. But then further to that, make sure, yeah, you hit that bell notification. There is definitely going to be a lot more reviews coming away. Again, those two other figures we've already talked about, Steppenwolf, Darkseid, yes, coming to this channel. And we are also going to be looking at some other McFarlane Toys reviews in the not so distant future as well. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.